all automotive enthusiasts and industry professionals. This is the 3Cs podcast, where we explore the core elements that drive success in the automotive industry. Join us for insightful discussions, expert interviews, and innovative strategies to conquer the automotive world. The 3Cs podcast starts now.
Three C's podcast. My name is Marcus Aman, and I am the co-founder of Bailey Smart Lot and Smart Shop, where we help dealerships drastically improve communication and efficiency through automation and location tracking. And I am your host today. The 3 C's is a term widely used daily in the automotive industry, especially service. It stands for complaint, calls, and correction. So on these episodes, we plan to interview dealers, industry professionals, and founders of tech companies focused on the greater good of the automotive industry. And sometimes that includes people who have identified a complaint, found the cause, and they have a correction for it. Today, we have Lane with Knowsmoke, who is the head of sales. Knowsmoke is a California-based technology company commercializing the world's first catalog of rapid third-hand smoke testing solutions for shared indoor spaces like vehicles or homes. Lane, welcome to the 3 C's podcast. Glad to have you here.
Marcus, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So who is Lane? And I didn't say your last name because I didn't want to mispronounce it. How do you say your last name?
So my last name is pronounced Goedhart. I know it doesn't sound like it's spelled. It's Dutch, and it's something I've been dealing with my whole life. You know, everyone pronounces it Goedhart or Godhart, but Goedhart works for me.
Okay, Goedhart. So my last name's Aman, and it gets mispronounced Aman, Alman. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't say it. And shame on me for not asking you prior to the podcast exactly how to pronounce your last name. I just didn't want to slaughter it. So, hey, it's all okay. Right, Goedhart it is. Lane Goedhart, everybody. So Lane, give us a little background story on you, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I want to start just, thank you again, Marcus, for having me. And I'm excited to chat. So I think, of all the questions that you might ask me, this might be the hardest one to answer because it's not one that I talk about all the time. But I'm a Southern California native, born and raised here in Southern California, here in Newport Beach. And weather is not as great as it could be, but, we're hanging in there today on a Wednesday.
What is that? What is the weather like today?
Oh God, it's a little overcast. It's probably mid 70s, but we've had a bit of a heat wave, like I'd say most of the world, throughout July and now August. But a good day right now is probably like 83, 84 degrees. Good beach weather.
I envy your weather. I'm over in North Carolina on the East Coast where it's high 90s right now and sunny. So I envy that cooler weather.
Yeah. Any humidity over there?
Oh, a ton. Of it? Not like Texas, but it's very humid in North Carolina.
All right. Well, hey, hang out inside with the AC on, some cool air blowing on you. But yeah, I'll give you some background, man. I started my professional career in around 2018. Pretty much every role I've ever had has been in sales across multiple industries. And my bread and butter was inside sales for VC-backed startups, working for, just some companies with some really revolutionary ideas and trying to move the needle and get that idea out there and get some early stage signups and find proof of concept, mold product market fit. Mm-hmm. And I got into the automotive industry just a couple years ago, and that's what led me down this path to be a founding member of Knowsmoke and try to solve this massive problem that we're going to talk about today.
Excellent. So that kind of explains how you got into the industry there. So that's kind of the second question I had was, how did you get into the industry? You want to elaborate on that a little more? You said you worked for some VC-backed startups trying to find product market fit, which, by the way, in the startup land, you are nothing if you do not have product market fit, and it's a very hard thing to get with a business. I think 99% of all new businesses that launch a new idea end up not finding product market fit. So it's a very hard thing to find. So you learned a lot in those VC-backed startups that you were in. How are you relating that today to No Smoke?
So I'll answer the first question that you threw out there, which was kind of like elaborating on my intro into the car business. It was around 2020, and pandemic had just started. It was April, I believe. And, things just weren't working out all over the world because the pandemic was showing us just how fragile things were. And the position I was in didn't work out, unfortunately. And the job market was pretty impossible to navigate at the time. And I couldn't really find an opportunity that I felt fit what I was looking for. So I reached out to a good childhood friend of mine who's actually my business partner now, Nathan. And he was the GSM at Huntington Beach Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. And I just told him, hey, man, I'm in sales. I know how to sell. Give me a shot here selling some cars. And maybe it's just in the meantime, or maybe it could be a career, but I need a job. And this seems like something I could do and be good at. So I sold cars with Nathan and his team down at Jeep in Huntington Beach for a little less than a year. And that was where we discovered the problem that we're trying to solve, which we can get into now or later. And it was a fun experience. The car business is a wild ride. A lot of really interesting personalities, a lot of challenges that you run into on a daily basis. And as you climb the ladder, as you go from position to position, with promotion, those problems just get bigger. The heat gets hotter, and it's a fun place to work. So I'm glad that I'm still in that automotive space, and I get to talk to dealers all the time. I get to step foot in dealerships and talk to the guys on the sales floor, talk to the guys behind the F&I desk, talk to leadership. It's a great industry to be in.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm a former fixed operations director myself in the automotive industry, and I did that 12 plus years or so for one of the largest privately held dealer groups. I think they have like 100 plus stores now, in their group. But it's an industry where the consumers today, the people, to everybody in the world are dependent on car dealerships. Honestly. They provide transportation from one place to the next. If you need a car, you've got to buy one from somewhere. If one breaks down, you have to have it serviced, usually at a dealership or a service center. So, their jobs are so important today, of getting people from place to place, which is a huge thing because it helps people connect, and, there's a lot of urgency too, especially when you work for, a dealership of getting things through fast, getting people place to place fast. It's just it can be sometimes chaotic a bit. So awesome that you worked in a dealership and you found a problem working in the dealership, which I love because me and you have that commonality of seeing issues inside of a dealership and then trying to solve it, by leaving and jumping into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about No Smoke. Tell us about, what you do there and why that is important, to the automotive industry.
Absolutely. So No Smoke is, we're in I think we're just shy of 3 years now in operation. And we are bringing to market a catalog of products that are able to detect residual tobacco smoke in shared spaces, whether it be vehicles, homes, apartments, hotels. We found, originally this was something that we tried to solve in the automotive space, and it made a lot of sense coming from automotive to try and solve a problem that we were seeing quite often in dealerships, where you had vehicles on the line that were reconditioned and ready to sell. Each of these vehicles had a Carfax history report attached to them, and they detailed where that car's been and what it's been through. And you'd have a customer drive in from a few hours away, or you'd have a local customer come in, and everything checks out online when they're doing their research. But they get there, they open up the car door, and it's sometimes more obvious than it isn't. But the car's been smoked in, and customers they can get over maybe a few dings or scratches, maybe some higher mileage, maybe some blemishes here or there. A used car is a used car, and there's a way to calculate that depreciation. But when a vehicle's been smoked in, it's more than likely a deal breaker, and it's a piece of information that customers would like to know before they make that trip or they make that appointment to come test drive the car and possibly drive home with it. And it's something that dealerships do their best to solve, right? I have sympathy for dealers who will acquire a vehicle, whether it be from trade-in or whether it be from auction, or whether it be a dealer trade from one store to another, where the vehicle's been smoked in, and they're going to give it to their detail team to obviously make the car as presentable as possible, to sell it as quickly as they can, to drive as most profit per copy. But a lot of the solutions out there, at least we haven't found one that truly solves the problem to remove odor permanently. Most of it's a temporary solution, using various methods like ozone treatments, deodorizers, air fresheners, even like deep cleaning, vacuums to try and get all this nasty stuff out of these seats or this upholstery. But you have a lot of customers who they're just not interested in buying a smoked in car. So we're trying to create an objective method for determining which vehicles are smoked in before they're made presentable or put on the front line for sale, so that dealers can avoid future problems with smoked in cars, because they're harder to sell and they're worth less. So as we kind of went down the rabbit hole of solving this problem and getting into the weeds and the science of the issue, we discovered this academic term called thirdhand smoke. It's something that's very new. It's not in the mainstream yet. And thirdhand smoke is essentially just described as tobacco residue, tobacco smoke contamination. And we learned that it's not only affecting the car business, but it's affecting hospitality, travel. If you want to buy a home, if you want to buy a car, if you want to rent a car, rent an apartment. If the home's been smoked, and it's not only annoying that there's that strong odor there, but it's a serious health concern. There's thousands of chemicals and toxins and carcinogens that hide in this residue that's on the walls and the carpet. It can be carried around on your hands and your clothing, and it's got some serious consequences. So why it's important is we're trying to add another layer of transparency to the automotive industry, to the hospitality industry, to let people know that this vehicle is inspected and guaranteed to be smoke-free. And there are people out there with a lot of health issues, a lot of concerns, chronic lung disease, allergies, you name it, autoimmune disorders, that this thing thirdhand smoke really affects them. So we're trying to protect those people, and then also help people retain value on vehicles that they just bought, that maybe they do or don't know that it's been smoked in, and it's going to be a surprise later on.
Got it. So you're a no smoke is essentially kind of an assessment of whether the vehicle has been smoked in and how much damage has been done.
Correct.
in that automobile, correct?
Yes. And the first product that we have out there is it's enabled us to measure just how toxic a vehicle can be following smoke contamination. And it's measuring smoke history, just the same as, testing for, like running it through a smog check, right? So you're able to test the vehicle and reconditioning or detail, identify if there's tobacco residue inside the headliner or inside the seat fabric, and label that car either certified smoke-free or contaminated. And then the detail team is going to do everything they can or go above and beyond on those seriously problem cars to make them presentable and ready for the front line.
So it's like part of an inspection process, a multi-point inspection process, or even an appraisal process.
Yeah.
Of a new or used vehicle.
Yeah, our prime customers right now are franchise dealerships. We've got partnerships here in California. Being a California-based company, we started local to find dealers nearby, and I think California, residents, I think their sentiment towards smoking and this issue is a bit stronger than maybe other places in the country or other places in the world. We're working now in 3 states, so California, Utah, and New Jersey, and franchise dealers, fleet leasing companies, rental car companies. There's a lot of applications for this technology.
Yeah, I see where it applies to a wide range of not just automobiles, but like you said, the hospitality space and other industries as well. So it sounds like you got a lot of blue ocean and a lot of vertical markets that you can attack as well.
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, good for sales, right? I mean, you can sell to different people, which is always good. Mm-hmm. So the name of the podcast is, 3 C's, which is complaint, cause, and correction. Is there a complaint or issue that you've identified specifically in the industry, maybe that's different from what No Smoke does, or if it is, what No Smoke does, or maybe in the world, or maybe even in your personal life? What do you think, is the cause of that, and what is maybe a correction of those issues?
A complaint. I would say, obviously right now there's a ton of complaints with, vehicle acquisition, with interest rates climbing, with, the inventory levels just not being where they need to be, and it being harder to find cars. Because I don't have a lifelong background in automotive, I was never a general manager. I've never been an executive inside of a dealership or an auto group. I can't speak too much on what the complaints would be, whether it be in fixed ops or whether it be in the sales department. My experience was strictly as a salesman trying to get cars off the line and trying to, be a 20, 30 car guy every month. But I think one of the biggest complaints just kind of in my realm or in my world of automotive is obviously smoked in vehicles, and how are we supposed to sell these cars, or how do we avoid, purchasing these cars, with the intention of selling them and making a profit if they are smoked in. And, obviously customers, they don't want to buy a vehicle that was smoked in. So it's how do we solve that problem? So that's the major complaint, is that, our data is showing that about 17%, roughly say 13 to 17% of vehicles in circulation are contaminated at toxic levels. And if you're looking at how many used cars are sold every year, it's in the millions, tens of millions, I think between 40 and 50 million. So 17% of that's a lot of, unhealthy cars driving around. So that's the biggest complaint. That's what we're trying to solve. I think the cause of that, we have to look back at the root of where this problem starts. And, one of the biggest motivations for starting this company and building this technology was we have to look at the rental space. I think that's the first place we have to look at, because a lot of frontline cars, they're fresh out of the rental cycle.
Right. And
before COVID, when inventory levels were prime, I would say that a rental car would be, it'd probably be cycled out after about 12 months, give or take. But now the inventory levels have dropped and it's harder to find cars. These rental car companies are actually keeping these cars for almost twice as long. So the mileage on these rental cars is going up. The number of renters is going up almost 2x. And these rental car companies have a hard time enforcing these no smoking penalties, right? Because they don't have objective evidence to prove that a violation occurred in any given rental cycle. You could even I'll throw out a company name, Turo. Turo's a company that I see in our sites, not today, but down the road, as one that we'd like to help. And it's all car sharing companies. On their website, they claim that, they can't submit or support a claim of smoking violations without photo evidence. Well, how do you take a picture of odor, right? Unless there's serious contamination or damage, there's ash, there's a burn in the seat, there's maybe a cigarette box in the back seat. there's a lot of people that they don't get the money that they need to solve the problem that their car has been, damaged. So we want to provide that evidence, and we want to build products so that these people can provide irrefutable evidence that their cars have been damaged. And I think that's going to really discourage people from smoking in these vehicles, whether it be car sharing or rental. I think the cleaning fees should probably be adjusted a bit and maybe re-raised to even further discourage people from smoking in these cars, especially if there is, evidence-based technology to kind of support them in that fight against it.
Yeah. I mean, I see a huge benefit if I'm a consumer and there's a vehicle I'm looking at that's certified as a smoker vehicle. One of the first vehicles that I purchased in my life was a car that had been smoked in, and I did everything in my power to remove that smell. But I used every carpet cleaner you could use, every air freshener you could use, and it would mask it for a while, but it was still there, and what I guess one of the questions I have is, you're assessing it. Are you able to know if someone's used like an ozonator or whatever those things are that try to take out some of that smell or some of those chemicals that are in the car?
So ozone is a unique treatment. It's one of the more expensive treatments compared to putting chloride tablets in kind of like a mixing solution or deodorizers. It's something that takes a little longer too. Some people will run an ozone machine for a few days.
Yeah.
And our technology is very specific for the compounds that we're detecting. So we wouldn't be, if we were inspecting a car, we wouldn't know just based on the test result that we're getting from our device, what treatments have been applied. There's a lot of research and study on ozone treatment as a way to remediate smoke damage and smoke odor. And it seems like of all the treatments out there, it's one of the most promising. But again, it's kind of classified as a temporary solution. And there are a number of different problems that could come after ozone treatment, because the ozone will combine with certain chemicals and compounds found in the cigarette residue to even increase toxicity for a short time. But when it comes to choosing an option for remediation, ozone is up there as kind of a number one choice.
Yeah, and in my background, it seemed to just kind of mask it for maybe a couple of months or so. I don't know that it completely got rid of it.
No, the complexities of in cabin, like the number of cracks and crevices inside of a car, and just like the grooves and the different materials and fabrics used, it's such a complex space to try and remediate this problem from. It's in the AC vents, it's in the floorboards, it's deep in the seat, it's in the seat belts, it's everywhere, man. So it's
right. Yeah,
it's a real challenge.
How long does it take for you guys to assess? Like once you put your product inside the vehicle, how long does it take to find out an answer?
Yeah, so actually I have one here with me right here. Yeah. It's just a handheld device. The technology is very comparable and similar to an at-home rapid test that you would use to test for pregnancy, to test for COVID-19 drug test. We're using a liquid solution that's sent into a small, like 1 by 1 inch square surface of the headliner above the driver's seat. It's kind of washing that surface, extracting a sample, and we're doing a surface test. And you're able to get results in about 3 minutes. It's pretty rapid. It's on site.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I could see maybe a benefit of that even during the appraisal, of a car.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not terribly expensive to do, per each car. I could see where that would, possibly be a benefit, because then, to add in on your reconditioning cost,
mm-hmm.
if needed there. So, all right, great. Anything else that you want to talk about, Lane?
No, I think that's it, man. I think, we have an uphill battle in front of us. There's a lot of awareness and education that's going to go into our success. And we've got a lot of really good ideas, and we've got a lot of support from the industry. And, like you said before we started the call, if there's a way that we can support your partners, or if there's a way that you can support ours, we'll definitely reach out and find a way to work together and generate some business. But we've, I think we have something special on our hands, and it's gonna help the industry generate more profits. It's going to help them increase the speed at which they're turning over their inventory. It's going to make their cars more marketable. And we're going to create a healthier kind of environment for people to buy and sell cars. And hopefully smoking isn't too much of a problem throughout the rest of my lifetime, and we'll be able to solve it.
Yeah. Well, I hope the same thing. I'm not a smoker myself, but I hope that is something that, people kind of move away from, as it has bad health effects. You're in sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is one of your daily disciplines, that you have personally?
Daily disciplines. I think, I try to wake up at the same time every day, right? I don't have to wake up particularly early because, walking into dealerships and trying to call your prospects, it's not like I'm selling financial software where everyone's up at 6:30 in the morning, tracking the market. Most stores are open, or most GMs there between 9 and 10. But I try to get up every day around the same time, 7 a.m. Wake up. I'm kind of a creature of habit. I tend to eat the same thing for breakfast every day. And I'll sit down on my computer, and I think my daily ritual is I'll put down on a piece of paper, I'll write it, by hand, kind of, what are the top 10 things that I want to accomplish today? And that could be a combination of professional or personal things. And if I'm able to get through 7 or 8 out of those 10 things that day, then I know that I've accomplished, what I set out to do. And then usually the 2 that I didn't accomplish are either things that I'll have to carry over to the next day, or things that are more ongoing, things that, they're not just tasks that I could knock out. But I think that's my secret sauce, man, is just having a routine in the morning. I should probably make my bed every morning. That's probably something I could be better at, but getting up every day around the same time, having the, what I'm used to eating in the morning. So it's part of that routine. And then just sitting down and being honest with myself, saying, what does success look like today? And how do I accomplish it? How do I find it?
Yeah, great. That's great. I think me and you were probably very common in that, we try to make our beds every morning and try to stick to the course. So every day, like, here's the plan. This is what I've got to get accomplished. And I'm not stopping until I get all that done today. And then, you got to be prepared, and if you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. What's the saying? Fail to plan to fail.
Yeah, I think that's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's a good rule to live by, especially in sales, right? Sales is an interesting game. Peaks and valleys, highs and lows. You can have a day, or you can have a stretch to where you just think like, I'm not built for this. I'm cut from a different cloth. I don't think I can do this. My numbers aren't where they need to be. And then all it takes is, maybe a day or a phone call or an email to come through to really turn it around for you. And, then you're on top of the world and you think, you know what, I got this. Anybody out there who's in sales, just keep your head down, listen to those around you who've found success and done it before. Repetition, they say, what's the saying? What's another saying where it's crazy is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Right.
Well, that's kind of sales, right? You have to, in practice, you're pretty much doing the same thing all the time, every day. You're picking up the phone, you're sending emails, you're sending text messages, you're going out there and shaking hands and hoping that maybe one thing you say is really going to stick, and you want to latch on to that one thing that worked and try to replicate it, optimize it, and just get better every day. So for anyone who's listening in sales, just keep your head down, man. Keep trying. Highs and lows, celebrate the wins, but don't get hung up on the losses.
Yeah. And I think that's great. A great point, Lane. It doesn't matter if you're a tech founder, if you're a salesperson, a VP of sales, if you're a salesperson at a dealership or a sales manager, it doesn't matter what you do. What he just said applies to all of that, is continuing to go, stay positive, have a plan, and discipline, to hold yourself accountable. Make sure before you blame anybody, you look in front of that mirror and say, did I do what I was supposed to do, first? And there's a lot of peaks and valleys in sales. A lot of people can't handle the rejection, but we all know that there's no profession in the world that pays more than a salesperson, if you're really good at it.
It's true. It's true. You don't, there's a lot of people making a lot of money who have, educational background. They've got a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD. They became doctors. They became, you name it, right? People who spend a lot of time and effort to get where they are now. But, if you've got the confidence and you've got the discipline to be in sales, it's only a matter of time, right? If you keep your head in the game and just keep putting one foot in front of the other, anything's possible. And I think that's across all industries, no matter what you're selling.
Yeah. And learning new strategies and methods and trying to apply them, but not becoming paralyzed by them. I've seen that before where, you'll have a salesperson that's like, oh, look at how somebody's doing this specific thing, maybe that could help us, or maybe that could help me. But then they get kind of like paralyzed by trying it, you got to stick to the things that that work, but also try to implement new things along, parallel to it, but you can't get paralyzed by the new things that you're trying.
Yeah. And I'll say too, I think you asked the question earlier that I didn't really get to, but it was kind of like, how is my experience in startup sales for like these early stage VC backed startups kind of like shaped my way of thinking or kind of my process now. And I'll tell you right now, Marcus, there's no harder job in sales than like early stage startup where, if I'm calling a prospect on the phone and, hey, I'm from Google or I'm from Facebook, these very recognizable companies, where there's commercials on television or they, or they see it on social media. The name is kind of ingrained in society. But when you're selling for a company where no one's ever heard of the name, like, hey, what's going on, Mr. Dealer? This is Lane at NoSmoke. It's like, who? Who are you? I've never heard of that company before. And then, you really have to do the best you can to make that first impression as strong as possible. But yeah, it's especially, you get it, man. You've started a company, you're an entrepreneur, in the space. Tell me if you disagree, but selling to dealers are probably some of the hardest prospects in the world to sell a product to. And it's because they've got so many things to pay attention to, right? Like they've got all these employees. Dealerships are just these behemoths of operational challenges. And, there are guys out there who have it really figured out. And then there are other guys who, they don't have time to talk to a vendor or have just a casual chat, right? They have things to deal with. So I think finding the right time to talk to a dealer and presenting yourself the right way, whether it be a walk-in or over the phone, is really challenging with these guys, and nothing but respect to them.
Oh yeah, 100%. Dealers are very hard to sell. It's like one of the hardest sales. It could be potentially one of the hardest sales in the world.
It might be.
You're selling a well, usually a well-trained salesperson themselves, right? So, and I think one thing with dealerships, salespeople have to make sure that they're targeting the right person. Like if you have a product, who generally strokes the check at a dealership, for a product or service, it's usually a GM or maybe an owner. But a lot of times there's a chain of command, so you may have a service manager that your product really is tailored to, that you may have to show the service manager when their approval, and then have the service manager take it to the general manager or the owner in hopes to get it, get a signed check or a signed agreement or whatever it may be, but it's, you have to properly identify that. And if you get that wrong, you're just kind of spinning wheels there. So that's one of the big things. And to your point, there's a lot of things happening at a dealership, and the worst thing, you've got, I used to be a fixed ops director, so I'd be working really hard, running around crazy, trying to help customers, trying to answer the phone, trying to change oil on a car, get a customer out of the shop. And then somebody comes and says, hey, there's a phone call for you. Someone's on hold, and I'd pick it up, and it was a vendor. And I would be, are you kidding me at the time? But now I'm on the flip side of it, of calling dealers and trying to just, get your opinion on the product, will you just give me an hour, 30 minutes of your time, which is a big ask, by the way, because we know they're super busy. And you can't just say 15 minutes of time, because we all know it's never 15 minutes. You're going to start talking about, how's the weather and how's the football? Are you a Packers fan or whatever? You're going to start about stuff like that, and it's never 15 minutes of time. It always takes longer. But really, I think something that's been helpful for us is reaching out and just saying, hey, we'd like to get your opinion on what we're doing, and just get feedback on it. And, because we understand that you're a thought leader in this space. You understand this particular job better than anybody. Do you think our product is something that can help, or, just give us your opinion on it? Can you do that for me? Will you help me out with your opinion?
Yeah, I agree with that so much, Marcus. It's because you're now extending the invitation for them to be honest and critical, instead of just them kind of pushing you away and avoiding the conversation. Like, my intention when I walk into a dealership, on a first meeting, or at least just to shake hands and introduce myself, I know that I'm in no position to close a deal today. I need to get their opinion on the product. I need to ask them about their business. I need to fact find and qualify. I need to, sometimes, with our product, sometimes it's not a good fit for certain brands, or it's not a good fit for certain locations, and that's okay. I think that we're solving a problem that all dealers could use some help solving, but I have to be respectful, because I don't know the business I'm walking into. I don't know how to run that store like that GM or like that fix op director. So I have to respect what they're saying and how they feel about my product, because I can learn something from every interaction. And especially with a new product like this, where there is nothing out there like what we're doing, and we're trying to add another layer of transparency to vehicle history, which could be seen as a good or bad thing. But at the end of the day, I'm not going in to close first pencil or first meeting. I'm going in there to build a relationship that, hopefully will bring me business and build a solid foundation of a future partnership. But I can't stress even more to your listeners out there about, how important relationships are in the automotive business. Because, if you burn a bridge, that can make or break you, because you don't know who knows who. And, guys are so often going from one dealership to another, and, word spreads like wildfire. So you gotta really pay attention to the relationships you have, and try to foster those partnerships the best you possibly can.
Yeah, 1,000%. There's a guy out there, David Long, who is I think he's the executive general manager over Go Hansel Auto. Shout out to David Long, by the way. He has clubhouse rooms on Fridays, and I think on Mondays. They're called All Things Used Cars. And this past Friday had one called All Things Used Cars, Fire Your Vendors.
I listened to that actually after you shared it on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, it was one of the most valuable 45 minutes to an hour I think I've listened to. When it comes to like the automotive industry and like being a vendor. Shout out. That was an amazing conversation.
Yeah. So I took that. I took that and I recorded it, and I turned it into a PDF document and shared it with my team, because, when we sign a dealership up, I mean, you take all this time to get a dealership on board with you, and they really are a partner. They're a partner of yours. They're just important to you as you are to them, and you have to treat it that way. And Lisa Borches, who's the head of Carter Myers Auto Group, she shared some really valuable points too. So shout out to Lisa as well. And they have a vendor evaluation form, which I thought was really interesting. But the first question on there, is what problem does this product or service solve for our dealerships? Mm-hmm. And evaluating dealerships. So you got to make sure vendors that are out there, your messaging is in alignment to what the dealerships are actually looking for. So that's something valuable I took from it.
Couldn't agree more. Was Lisa, because I was only listening, so I don't think there was, I wasn't able to see anyone's face in the recording, but was Lisa the one who was talking about giving vendors name tags?
Yes.
I thought that was brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah. And, Hendrick Automotive Group does something similar, where they give their vendors, name tags, and they make them take these personality tests. So they find out if you're direct, or if you're not direct, if you're analytical, or so vendors are walking around with name tags, and you're like, okay, that guy's red, he's direct, so I know how to speak with him. But that's something that I think is brilliant, and they're practicing that, and every dealership, especially dealership group, if you can afford it, to, make your vendors participate, just, because they're partners with you, make them participate that way. And the same thing for vendors, make sure you're evaluating and you're making sure your product is serving the dealer as strongly as it possibly can.
Yeah. And that's what we're trying to build, right? No Smoke is it's very early, right? My partner, Nathan, and I will joke sometimes that, this is our baby, right? And our baby is going through these different stages of life, right? And, something like we'll cross a bridge, or we'll have a big milestone, and we'll look at each other and be like, man, our baby's learning how to walk, or our baby's learning how to crawl, right? We've got a long road ahead, and we're going to face more challenges. We're going to have, more obstacles, but we're trying to build the best possible product that we can for dealerships. We're trying to make our value offering sound like a no-brainer. And we're trying to solve a problem that is, in our eyes, very pressing and a concern. And it affects the ability for some stores to, sell cars and maximize profitability. It affects their turn rate. A few problem cars can really, mess up a month or a week, or it could really jeopardize, someone's paycheck. So we're trying to help dealers avoid smoked in cars entirely, or address the problem, whether it be with detection or whether it be with remediation. And we're open to ideas. So if there's any listeners out there who have some ideas on how to improve our offering, or if you've encountered any products out there that you believe solve this problem, then give us a call. We'd love to work together, at least pick your brain on why you think so, and where you came to that idea. Excellent.
Lane Goedhart, everybody, thank you for joining the 3Cs podcast today. Lane, how does everybody get a hold of you?
So you can reach out to our company across multiple platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn with the name that you see just right there, Lane Goedhart. Send me a direct message. You can shoot me an email at lane@nosmoke.com, LANE@KNOWSMOKE.com. And we're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Reach out. Let's have a conversation, man. Let's generate some business, and let's conquer the world.
Excellent. Lane, appreciate you for joining today's podcast. Again, if there's anything I can do to help you and No Smoke, or if you have any questions at all about anything at any time, please reach out to me.
Will do, Marcus. It's been a pleasure, man. And I hope this isn't the last time we talk. You have a good one.
I'm sure it will not be.
All right. See you, man.
See you, man.
Thank you for accelerating your automotive passion with the 3Cs podcast. We hope you found value in today's discussion. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Stay connected with us on social media for more information on upcoming episodes, guest announcements, and exclusive content. Until next time, drive safe, drive smart, and drive with passion.